Whoop, whoop.
Oh, you're not drinking beer?
No, it's school night.
School night? What are you, like 5?
Yeah.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Mint City Soccer Show. I'm one of your hosts, David Gussler. I'm here with, of course, a new kit wearing Matt Swift. So, Matt, how are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, David. After a win, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, got the new top on. So, yeah, let's. I'm ready to talk some soccer tonight.
We haven't had a after win at home regular season podcast episode since May. Think about that for a second. So it's been June, July, August, pretty much. It's August 28th as we're recording this. It's almost been 3 months since we've actually been able to record an episode after a win. But just to be the bearer of bad news here at the beginning, we do not have a wonderful guest like Zoran again tonight. So if you're tuning in for a huge get, there's no Tom Bogert in the corner. There's no Bobby Belair. There's no, Joe here in the corner. It's just me and Matt Swift tonight. But the good news is we get to have a conversation about a victory as Charlotte FC walked away with a win and 3 points against Will Ferrell's LAFC. I don't know why I keep saying Will Ferrell's, but it's all I associate with that. I guess it's like every celebrity soccer team, but walked away with a 2-1 victory at home, Swift. And it's a pretty damn good feeling right now to have hope again, right? How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good. It was one of our best victories of the season, and I think we could take a lot from this. We'll dive into the nitty-gritty here in a minute, but we should feel very, very good about this victory. And I think we were building some momentum from Leagues Cup, and I think this has started to trickle over and now into the regular season.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, Leagues Cup was fun. We went farther into it than we expected, or at least I expected. But I think we're starting to see the fruits of our labor a little bit from that tournament, right? Charlotte FC started to gel, started to mesh, got some of their summer window transfer players in, got them to get into more game shape and get acclimated to the team. And now we're seeing it. I mean, LAFC is not a slouch, man. Like they're a pretty good team in the West, and we were able to take it to them. For those who listened to our Soccer and Coffee episode on Saturday morning, Mr. Matt Swift here predicted the score correctly. I'm taking full credit though, because I said that we were going to win 5-0 and spoke it into existence. So you may be right, Matt, but I'm more right, if that makes sense. But
it doesn't make any sense, but okay.
Yeah, that's just how my logic works, Matt. But
Sure.
But it was an interesting lineup for sure, man. I remember I was at my nephew's 1-year-old birthday party when I got the notification of the starting 11 for Charlotte FC for this match. And I know we were talking in Soccer and Coffee. We kind of thought it'd be something pretty similar that we've seen in Leagues Cup. We definitely didn't think that Breck would be starting in this game, but it was an interesting starting 11, right? What's your thoughts from Christian Lattanzio's continued tinkering for this lineup for this match?
I thought Brecht would start. I just didn't think he would start where he did. And then you had the addition of Ben Bender on the other side in the midfield, and then Derek Jones being advanced like he was. So yeah, when the lineup first came out, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting," but it paid off for sure.
Yeah, so it was an interesting starting 11, at least for me. Like, I know you said that you kind of thought Breck would start. I didn't think, just because he hadn't started yet for us in Leagues Cup, but I also didn't think where you would really fit him yet on the roster. But it was interesting to see him kind of start at a wing position. And I know friend of the show, Vaughn, we were texting a little bit before and after this game, and we had him on a few weeks ago talking about our wingers' performance. Where Mackenzie Gaines was coming back from injury, played for Crown Legacy the night before. Kamil Jóźwiak, Justin Merrim, Kerwin Vargas had been our kind of consistent starters all season so far and have not really produced that much. Justin had a small stretch there. And I remember Vaughn sharing that, and it was interesting to see. And maybe Lattanzio listened to the show. You listened to Vaughn on Twitter. No, I'm just joking. But and decided to kind of start something different. I mean, obviously Breck being there. What did you think about Ben Bender starting again for the position that he was in and then starting against LAFC again?
I still think Ben is best coming off the bench to give us a spark. I think where Ben struggles is giving him a defined role and really kind of boxing him into certain responsibilities. I think he's best when he has freedom. I think he's best when he can come in and disrupt. So I don't like starting him really. It's an option, and I'm not saying that he can't ever start. It's good to have some rotation and options, but I think I like him better coming off the bench, and that's okay. That's not a huge knock on him, but like I said, I think him coming in and just running around the pitch, disrupting things, pulling people out of position is best for him.
Yeah, and it's not a knock, right? I mean, if you think about it, this is year 2 of his MLS career. It's not like he's started 10 years and we're just now trying to start him, right? He's got a pretty long career, hopefully, ahead of him. And then on top of that, we're playing him kind of out of position, right? Like he's not been someone that we typically play at the wing, right? He's been more of this, box to box mid, attacking mid, etc. If you go back to the Columbus game last year, I think even Lattanzio started him at the 9 at one point against, but it is what it is. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he should be someone that comes off the bench, but that was really, if you look at that first half in the starting 11, he was one of the only players that kind of was like, I didn't really enjoy seeing in that first half, right? You did see, like you mentioned, Brant Bronico, Derek Jones, Ashley Westwood midfield. And if you look on that on paper, 6 months ago, you've been like, oh, cool. Derek Jones is the center defensive mid, and Ashley Westwood's the box to box mid, and Brant's probably the attacking mid, maybe. But it was not that, right? It was Ashley Westwood as the CDM, Brant as the attacking mid, and then Derek Jones is like that box to box, and they almost seemed like they pivoted at times, right? Throughout this game. So interesting lineup. And what do you think of Derek Jones's role from that perspective in this game? Just out of curiosity with that lineup change.
Yeah, I think Jones had an amazing game and played a pivotal role in the victory. Jones was pushing up very high, and I think LAFC were really thrown off in this match. I think they had a hard time figuring out our midfield. I think Derek Jones confused them. I think we talked about Brecht. I think he also confused them, which we'll get into in a second. But Jones was able to win some of those long balls and 50-50 challenges. And he helped put pressure on LAFC when they were trying to build like out of the back. And I think LAFC were not able to get into a rhythm, and Derek Jones was a big reason for that.
Yeah, I'm going to circle back to the tactics here a little bit because I got one more kind of question and statement about the starting 11, because I think there was some mind games at play here a little bit by Christian Lattanzio. But I just have to make another statement here. So Privet did pretty well again for this rookie playing out of position, continues to show flashes of good defensive skills and player. Not saying he's this outstanding defensive player, but played decent. Malanda continues to play out of his mind the past few games and defensively. But the thing I want to say is we are still undefeated with Nathan Byrne and Jalen Lindsay starting as our left and right back duo. So whatever it is, if we need to win these next 4 or 5 games straight, just start Jalen Lindsay and Nathan Byrne, and it will come to fruition. I'm telling you right now. But no, what did you think about Malanda, the defense, just that starting back 4 for you from your perspective before we talk about tactics?
I mean, Malanda was crucial. He gave a lot of defensive cover that allowed our other defensive backs to go forward. Privet. I do think we were called out a couple times that there was the offsides, and then of course the goal that we allowed. But for the most part, he gave us a lot of cover. I'm a big fan of Malanda. I think he's great, and he showed against LAFC what he can do. But in it allowed our other backs to do some things that, again, to disrupt LAFC, and luckily it worked for us. So
let's get into some of the tactics, and we can talk about the first half here for a minute, because it was definitely a little bit something different than we've seen throughout this season so far. And I want to ask you, like, do you think that had anything to do of why it was successful? Is that there really wasn't much tape of Charlotte FC having a player like Brecht playing at a left wing and being able to pinch inward, and having Derek Jones and Brant Bronico kind of pivot in that attacking mid to box, whatever it is, right? Having that as the first time playing, do you think that had a positive effect? And do you think it works again, say against Orlando or Nashville in the next 7 days, from your point of view?
Yeah, I think so. You have LAFC that's traveling all the way here, and they just had a midweek game, so they're tired. It's really hot, and then you throw in a lineup and some tactics that probably they haven't seen. Again, I go back to Jones being able to disrupt that midfield and win challenges and break up plays. And again, LAFC were just not able to get into a rhythm. And again, Derek Jones was a big part of that. I think for Brecht, what I really, really liked about him is that he would get the ball out wide and he would cut into the middle. And it disrupted so many things. He was dragging people out of position, and it was leaving these gaps for like a Ashley Westwood to occupy that space. And I think you saw that a couple of times. And it worked out really, really well. Again, we kind of got drug out of place ourselves, got caught out a couple of times, but I liked that we kept pushing forward. I liked that we didn't just drop completely back at times or just concede possession to a really, really good team. I think it could have been very easy for this coach, even when we went up, to just park the bus and say, we're just going to defend for the rest of the game. And, LAFC is defending champs. They're really good. And we just totally threw them off their game. And I big kudos to Lattanzio. We've been very critical of him. And I'm not saying that everything's fixed and everything like that, or he's a great coach or anything like that. I think for this game, he did a really good job of looking at the opponent, understanding what was needed. But our players went out there and executed. And I think that's huge. And a lot of those guys went out and played above and beyond. And that's why we won.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. We're not sitting here, I think, saying that Lattanzio is, safe now and is going to be our coach for long term or anything like that. But it was Brecht really, like you said, impressed me because not only that, but he wasn't sitting there just passing the ball back or dribbling at center field and losing and being dispossessed, et cetera, right? He tended to, don't get me wrong, he definitely passed the ball backwards occasionally here and there. But his number one priority was, how do I keep getting up the field? How do I keep getting more passes going forward and getting it into that space? If you look at some of his statistics here within on FootMob, right? Like he actually, when's the last time that we had like a pretty high expected assist from our wingers in the past few weeks, right? He actually had some expected assist here. He had 2 passes into the final third. He was able to create chances based off of the space that he was taking up. And like you said, there was one play in particular that I remember just him. He literally started on the left side of the field and took a pass and passed, like dribbled into the center, passed it to Ben Bender on the other side, and still stayed in that occupied space in the middle. And then you saw Ashley Westwood come up and kind of, or Carol, it was either Carol or Ashley Westwood come up and then take that left wing spot where Brecht used to be. It was great to see a player have that soccer intelligence and being able to understand what's supposed to be happening right then and there and be able to create chances and space there for the team. And I think that really frustrated LA, and they didn't have an answer because they haven't seen it before.
Right. And then when they would get the ball and try to come forward, we would have somebody like Derek Jones and Westwood and Brant step in that middle. And like I said, cut out passes, win 50-50 balls. It was truly a really great game by this squad. I was so impressed and so happy. I hope we can replicate this. I hope this is not a one-off game where the effort and just the skill and the knowledge. We've talked about this a lot. We really haven't had a lot of great movement on this team. It's very stagnant. We play in one position. We've talked about the tactics and how much we don't like them. But I think this game, you saw why we signed Brecht, right? I think you saw why we signed Westwood. and Scott Arfield. We talked on Soccer and Coffee about what's Arfield's best position, or is he best coming off the bench, or is he a starter? And I think Saturday night we'll get into some subs and maybe the timing again, but I think for me, I have a very good understanding of when Ben should be coming on the field, when Arfield should be coming on, who should be starting, and I think better late than never. And we'll talk about how many games we have left, but it's almost like a mini season now, and it's good to start hitting our stride right now. So our back's up against the wall, and the math is getting hard, but at least some type of identity is happening.
Well, and I think that's what you like. If you were listening to the announcers during the game, they even said like it doesn't matter really what you were at earlier in the season at this point, especially for a team like Charlotte. Like every game's almost like a playoff game, and you can start making some noise and get hot and make the playoffs and make noise now. I'd rather that happen now versus us get hot earlier in the season and then taper off and not do well and just wimp into the playoffs and get eliminated early, right? I'd rather that not happen to us than the alternative. But I mean, it was just an overall good first half, right? What did you notice on that first goal, right? I mean, if you notice, like Karol Swiderski he wasn't technically accredited for the assist because of quote unquote deflection, but he was the assist there. And Ashley Westwood creating a goal here, right? What did you think of that first goal?
Again, it's about movement and skill, and Swiderski can create something out of nothing, and he's dangerous on the field. But now we have kind of a supporting cast that can get in good positions and receive a ball and get on top of something. I think Westwood's been a little unlucky with some of his shots and missing, and so it was good to get him on the score sheet. Like I said, I've met him. He's a great guy, so it's good to see someone like that get rewarded for hard work. And I tweeted this out. It's like not only that goal, but like I saw him right at halftime. He was talking to Privet, talking him up, and then I saw him on, certain goal kicks and things like that, organizing the defense, pulling them into the center, really being a general. And I think him joining this team, you can knock him for age or whatever you want to say, but I think he's been a crucial pickup. So kudos to the front office for getting someone like that is a veteran, that knows the game well, and that can help these young guys like a Privet, and even like a Bronico, just up their game, right, and help them. So it's been good stuff.
So speaking of Ashley Westwood getting that goal, Swift, there was actually a pretty unique celebration afterwards. I don't know if you saw it or not on TV or online, but immediately after Ashley Westwood scored that goal, he was handed a jersey that said Marco Strong on it. And I'm just going to pull this up from the Charlotte FC Twitter account here, right? So they posted like that. This was for you, Marco. And so that goal was dedicated to the U12 Academy coach and match analyst, Marco Diaz. And he's currently undergoing cancer treatment and recovery. I just want to pull this up here real quick because the team tweeted this out while we're doing the show, a little video for Marco, but there is a give tax free, kind of like a GoFundMe for Marco. And it talks about his journey going into the ER, lost sensation, ability to walk with his leg. He had spinal surgery because a tumor was found, all sorts of things. So, prayers out to him and his family, going through that process, but obviously, team is bought in and kind of there to help support and show their appreciation and, their love and their fight for him as well. And they pulled that out during the celebration. They did it for both goals. So it was nice to kind of see. Right. So, but awesome, man. Well, let's dig into the second half a little bit. Cause Charlotte, I felt like, definitely dominated that first half, was up 1-0, went into that second half and really didn't have any kind of substitutions, came out with the same exact formation, same exact players. And then we went into the second half. So what do you think of, Lattanzio's thought process there from a tactics perspective? And then we can get into subs as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I would have made any changes, aside from Bender that we talked about. I think everybody was, really solid. We bossed the first half, and the game plan was working. So no shock to me that no changes were made at the half.
Yeah, it definitely felt like LAFC was starting to press a little bit in that second half, right? I think, and forgive me, this is my go-to of mispronouncing words and players' names. Oh God, I can't even say it. LAFC's player here. Bawanga, thank you. Jesus, I struggled there for it. So Dennis Bawanga was starting to get some chances, especially in that second half, right? Started having some shots on target, started creating a little bit more. You can tell Charlotte was starting to get gassed a little bit in that second half. And then I think it was right after LAFC was able to get a goal is when Charlotte created their subs, right? So 72nd minute, you had Scott Arfield, Yuri Uronen, and Camille Uzviak come in 72nd, 73rd minute. What did you think about that and for who they came on for at the time?
I think the subs were pretty spot on. I think Nathan Byrne was struggling, right, with a kind of an injury. I think Bender needed to be subbed. I will say I was a little worried when Derek Jones came out because things have been going well, but Arfield comes on and ends up gets a goal. So yeah, that worked out pretty well, I guess.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because I wanted to ask you this because I know the last episode in Soccer and Coffee, you and me both have said, like, I think the original intent for Scott Arfield was to be a super sub. That's where he was and how he played his former team, and created a lot of goals that way, right? And during Leagues Cup, I felt like it was more out of necessity and creating stability out of the midfield, especially with injuries, that Scott was starting 90 minutes for us and was getting, I felt like, a little gas at times, playing for so many minutes, right? And after the game, I think Top Ben put a little interview out with Scott, and he said, when you find yourself on the bench and you don't start, that's the kind of impact you have to make to show why you should be starting, right? Or something along those lines. And do you think he expects to continue to start here for 90 minutes at Charlotte, or do you think the team and Lattanzio view him as kind of a super sub a la Ben Bender in the future for us?
I think, again, it's good to have rotation. I think he will start some games. I want to see how he does, maybe coming off the bench again to provide that spark. I think it's something that we need because, we play in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's hot. That turf is hot. So if we're going to play the way we did Saturday night, that's a lot of running. We need quality players coming off the bench. We don't need to be bringing folks on that's a drop off in quality. So, yes, I think Arfield will start some games, but also too, I think he could be very, very valuable coming off the bench too. And again, that's not a knock. That's actually a good thing. And it's good to have those options.
Yeah, and I know one of the questions later in the fan Q&A is something along those lines about the lineups in these coming up games. So we'll touch on that in just a second. But yeah, and I think that was one thing that was missing for us almost in that third of the season, right? Like that May, June, July, or April, May, June, and we didn't really have the subs because Nuno Santos was gone. Andre Shinyashiki was gone. We had injuries there. And if we sub players on, we didn't really have depth to be able to bring them on, or we just ran the guys for 90 minutes straight. And that's where I think a lot of these games that we could have closed out, like I think back to, one of the Nashville games, there's a few other games where we could have closed out and gotten 3 points, and we just didn't because of those quality depth pieces, right? So, but then Scott does come in and shows us all up and scores a goal right at the very end there, right? So Carroll had a beautiful shot on target. I felt like it was almost a chance to go in. LAFC makes a wonderful save there, and then Scott's on cleanup duty and was able to kind of create a nice little shot on target there on the supporters end and create some noise for Bank of America, right? So, but then looking ahead, like LA, I felt was pretty aggressive with their subs in that second half. Like they kind of matched, early on. Then they matched our subs, and then they had another sub come on, and then 83rd minute, we brought on Justin Miram, and then the 89th minute, we brought on Jan Sobaszynski. Jan, I felt, was more out of necessity because Malanda made a hell of a play and kind of tweak something, hopefully nothing too serious. So, was able to kind of come in and sub. But then Justin Miram came on. And I'm curious with Brecht and Justin there, and I guess they view each other like in different positions. But do you think Justin's kind of now this sub and depth piece for us, or do you think we see him start again here in the near future?
Again, I think it's a little bit like our field. I don't think Justin was necessarily brought in to start every game. I think, again, a veteran, a professional, someone that can help lead the guys, but also, again, bring some quality off the bench, right, when he does come off the bench. He's a type of player, too, that will, when he's on the outside, he'll cut in as well and will say a positive ball. It's going to be interesting because now we've got a few more options, and with Brecht, I mean, you can move him around some, so it gives us different looks, and that's been something that we've kind of missed and we wanted to have at the beginning of the season, and I think we thought we were going to have at the beginning of the season when we had Andre and Nuno, and we had some additional players. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, but again, I think he's going to be good coming off the bench to give us some quality and a spark.
Awesome. So just before we dive into into the game and looking forward, any other closing thoughts on, impact or moments for this game for you, Swift?
Yeah, there was a couple people, of course, throwing the luck thing out there. We were lucky to win. We're lucky here, lucky there. Good. We deserve some luck. I think we've had a lot of bad luck this season. And if you want to go to luck, Jalen Lindsey heads one off the crossbar, which,
it's very true. Could have easily been 3-1 after that. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, 9 times out of 10, he's gonna score that. So I don't know. I hate when people say we were lucky or whatever the case is. I think we deserve some luck with everything that's happened to this team. And the harder you work, the more luck you seem to have. And this team is working hard. I think a lot of positive things are happening now. The whole entire team and academy and front office are all in one spot now. All good things. We had a good Leagues Cup run, and off to a great start now in this kind of mini season, playoff games, basically. So all good stuff.
Not to harp on the referee or calls or anything like that. I do have one moment I just have to bring up, was that yellow card against Karol Swiderski in that first half. My God, man. I get it why Karol got a yellow card because he was just mouthing off, but I also understand he got kicked. The other guy should have gotten a yellow card, right?
Yep. And that's the thing. It's like, we talked about that a little bit with Zoran. Like, people are going to get cards for fouls, but you have to kind of know when to stop. And you can get a reputation, and referees don't forget.
Yeah.
So
I think we definitely have a reputation. And then as Zoran said, I don't know the last time a player's been able to change a referee's mind after they made a call or pulled a card. So
it never worked.
Never
worked for me.
I mean, it worked for me, I thought, but it never really actually did. But no,
it never works. It never works.
So looking at this game after the result, so Charlotte still sits in 12th place now, with let's see here. Sorry, I just scrolled right past it. Charlotte has 29 points with 24 games played, tied with New York Red Bulls at 11th. DC United's at 30 and 10th place, and Chicago's at 32 points at 9th place. So Charlotte's looking at only 3 points separating 9th and 12th between 4 different teams. So Wednesday night's a pretty big match, man. This could, I don't want to say make or break, but we've got to get 3 points against Orlando, right? And then, of course, we're going to be doing this when we have a potential tropical storm, hurricane coming up here and getting some rain into this environment, right? How important is this game, and what do you think Charlotte should do looking ahead?
It's crucial and a must win. So I can kind of break this down a little bit. So we're going to need around 42 to 46 points to make the playoffs. And I say that because if you look at the past couple of years, 42, I think, was the 8th or 9th place last season, but then it was 47 before that. So I'm thinking 42 to 46 points. So like I said, we're sitting on 29 points now. So that means we need 13 to 17 points. 11 games. We need maybe win 5 of those. Guess how many home games we have?
5.
So we play Orlando Wednesday. That's at home, right? We've got to win that one. We also play DC United at home. We play Philadelphia Union at home, which will be tough. We play Toronto at home. And we play a Miami team that may not have Messi at home. If you win those games, that's 15 points out of the 13 to 17 that you need. Now, there are some away games that you could possibly get some points from. I'm looking at that Chicago one specifically. And if Messi is not playing, maybe you can nick a point down in Miami because we're going to be playing back-to-back with them. So it's doable. Not easy, but if you win at home the rest of the season, that's 5 games. And that will get you the points needed, I think, to make the playoffs.
And Orlando's not going to be an easy game for us. I mean, if you look at where they at in the table right now, they're in 4th place, but they're tied with Philadelphia, New England. So literally this game can make or break Orlando going from 4th to 2nd place right away, right? And Orlando's been pretty decent this year, right? I think the most recent game, I think they beat St. Louis 2-1. So they're no slouch. They're able to kind of move forward. It's either they played St. Louis or Houston. Sorry if I got that incorrect here, but Orlando is a pretty good team, and it's not going to be an easy game for us moving forward. If you're Christian Lattanzio, are you going to start the same lineup, or are you going to do something a little bit different looking ahead?
I think outside of Ben Bender, I think you start the same lineup and see what happens. Reward the guys that were out there. I mean, he might start Ben and do basically what he did in this game. Sub him out later. But I think you go with what you had. I think you run the same style and tactics and see where that gets you. I mean, again, I think we need to be very mentally turned on so we don't have those defensive lapses like we did a couple times Saturday. And look, I mean, we still need to fix the defense. We still need some upgrades. But yeah, I would roll out the same lineup.
All right. So yeah, Orlando's going to be a tough match for us, but let's take a quick break and get a word from our sponsor, Swift, before we go to fan Q&A. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, Swift, welcome back. And we're proud to say that this episode is brought to you by Renegade Goalkeeping. So Swift, I know it looks like you're getting ready over there to play goalie for the Supporters Cup here for Mint City, but what glove you got on this time? Oh, nice.
I got the purple one on this time.
Nice, man. Yeah, those Renegade Goalkeeping, I mean, I really appreciate them being our sponsor here. They, get the show. I'm glad that they let us have some fun with these reads and promoting them from that perspective. But Swift, are you gonna play in the Supporters Cup against all the different SGs?
I'm not gonna be in town.
Oh man! Well, you better give those gloves to somebody and let them rock those things from Mint City Collective, because then we will go undefeated with those things.
They're almost too nice. They're kind of like a collector's item. I don't know if I want to actually play in these. Maybe I can get some more and have a game pair and a display pair.
What you need to do is you just need to have one of each glove on, so then that way you can have the other ones on display in your house. That's what you got to do.
That's a good idea. Also got a lot of crap for my English accent.
You did.
Last time I did the interview. And all I got to say is I really don't care. Like, I think that was the Australian accent.
I'm just gonna let you. I'm just gonna sit back and let you drown here for a second, Swift. It's fine. Keep it going. It's fine.
Renegade goalkeeping. What accent is that?
I don't know.
Renegade.
I guess an Australian. I don't know. Oh my God.
Hey,
well,
it's a renegade. It's a renegade.
Well, we're so glad that Renegade wants to be our sponsor, especially after this segment right now. So, but Swift, where can
this will be the last episode. Let's do it.
Well, we appreciate them, so make sure you check them out on social media. Follow them on Renegade GK on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Again, tag them on Renegade GK hashtag that for them to feature some things, and they've actually shown some really cool videos lately. Of some, goalies saving some great plays, saving PKs. It's really cool to kind of see. And they've also featured some really cool gloves, whether not the Charlotte FC ones that you have on your hands. They have some really cool ones that look really nice. So
they really do. Yeah, you should go check them out, especially if you have a goalkeeper in the family. Go get them some gloves.
There we go. Awesome, guys. Well, we'll be back with our fan Q&A. And welcome back. Thanks to that word of our sponsor for Renegade GK. So Swift, you ready to dive into this fan Q&A?
Right, governor.
See, there it is. You should have had that like 30 seconds ago, but that's all right. So, so this first question comes from Mint City Collective founder Jay Landscroner. So Jay wants to know which game this week is more important. Is it Orlando, who has won both games since Leagues Cup, which sidebar, we've won both games this year against Orlando, or Nashville, who only needs a tie to clinch the Southern Champions supporter belt? So which one's more important for Charlotte right now, Swift?
Yeah, I think it's got to be the Orlando game, just because, like we said earlier, you got to win your home games. Traveling is always tough. So I think the most important is take care of business at home. So I'm going to say Orlando. Good question, though.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, you can't look ahead right now. Every game is super important. You got to get 3 points on a Wednesday night. I know there's a big contingent of Mint City Collective members traveling to Nashville, so they want to be able to get 3 points and part it up in Nash Vegas. But yeah, are you going to Nashville, Swift?
I will be there.
Oh man, I was very tempted to go, but I am not going. So I'll have to live through your Instagram stories. Are you riding with Chico? Is Chico driving you there in 24 hours and back, or no?
No, my wife and I are flying at like 6 a.m. So we're going to get in Nashville around like 7 something. Yeah. Friday. Cool. So
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this next question comes from our IT director from Mint City Collective and tailgate merchandising extraordinaire, Jeff Eklund. So Jeff says, who do we rotate in for Wednesday's match to keep fresh legs? So I know we talked about the lineup a little bit earlier in the show. That's going to be really important, especially with the midweek match. Or do we start the same lineup as Saturday to rotate in Nashville?
Good question. I think, again, I don't know if I would start Ben. I might switch and bring in Camille and then sub in Bender. I think I would keep everything else the same. Enzo could be a factor at some point, but I think I would save him for Nashville. I think that's what I would do. I don't know if I would play him Wednesday. I think I would save him for the weekend.
Yeah, and for me, if Enzo's still coming back from injury, the last thing you want to do is play on turf when it's wet and a tropical storm kind of weather coming through too. So I'd rather save him for Nash Vegas anyway. So, but yeah, I agree with you there. I would start Camille instead of Ben, have Ben come on and create havoc in that second half. And with the Scott Arfield, imagine a fresh Ben Bender and a fresh Scott Arfield coming in and creating havoc there in the midfield or as a wing, right? That's really nice.
Yep.
So awesome. Good question there, Jeff. So this next, we got lots of leadership asking this week, Matt. Mm-hmm. So this next one comes from Eric Hill. So that's our chapter director for Mint City Collective. So Eric says, Jones has played center defensive mid and center back pretty well for us all season. In fact, I think you were saying like he's one of our best players of the year so far at one point of the year. Some other folks were really like saying he was really great, right? But against LAFC, he seemed to do well as like this hold up attacker that we've missed since Daniel Rios departed. What kind of front to back versatility would you consider, and would you consider DJ the leading candidate for the team MVP this season as well?
MVP, I don't think he would be a leading candidate. I'd like to see what happens the next couple games if he's going to play kind of like the similar role. I think could be very impactful. I think my MVP would be Swiderski. I don't know. We talked about this on Soccer and Coffee. We really don't have that like standout all-star signature player yet. I think Swiderski's getting there. I think why he's the MVP is that he can score, he can create, he can cause havoc. DJ, if he keeps playing like he did Saturday night, and not that he's played poorly all season, I just don't know if I would say he would be the leading candidate for MVP.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's a great utility man, and he's able to fill in for us. And obviously, we're missed without him, right? So, but MVP, I would say either Ashley or Carol for us. So, so this next question comes from the drummer man himself, Paul Hagen. So, Paul says we have match delays and suspensions for Lightning. Other than giving hydration breaks, should the league take similar actions when temperature and heat index gets too high? Or with climate change making things worse, do you see the league ever moving the season around so it's not played throughout the summer?
Yeah, I mean, ideally we would play our season when everybody else in the whole entire world plays their season. But it's just, the US is just so different with the other sports we have going on. It's just, it would be so tough to do, I think. I think the hydration breaks are great. I just want to, I caution about other breaks because then it kind of loses its appeal of like what soccer is, right? And it starts turning into the NFL where there's timeouts and breaks and commercials every 5 seconds.
Commercial break after a kickoff, after a touchback, after an extra point, after everything.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So, yeah, it would be nice if we could move the season. It's just I don't think we're quite there yet, unfortunately. Especially like a team like us that has a shared space.
Yep. So good question there, Paul. So this next question comes from the New York City fan, Kate herself. So Kate says, we're more than halfway through the MLS and Apple TV inaugural season. What has Apple done right? What have they done wrong? And what would you like to see them do differently for year 2?
Oh yeah, this is a good question. I've enjoyed the Apple TV coverage. Yeah, it could be better, but again, you got to start somewhere. I hate that they only talk about Messi now, and then when I'm trying to watch the pregame of like the Charlotte FC game, it's basically whatever team Messi's playing.
Messi cookie, like did you see that in the Open Cup? They're talking about Messi cookies the entire time, like it was crazy. So yeah.
So that's annoying. Maybe it won't be so bad next year. I do like the match previews for each team, and that's a lot of content if you think about it that they have to produce. I wish it was longer. They're usually only like 2-3 minutes, and it's very like surface level. But at the same time, they're having to do it for every single team. So, like I said, that can get tricky. Just maybe as time goes on, it's a more robust library. I would like to see the Crown Legacy games that you can replay. Again, you got to start somewhere. So I've really enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what everybody else has to say, but hopefully they can improve on some of the production and just some cool little one-off things that I think they have in the library.
Yeah, I think the one-off things we'll see more happen during the off-season to fill that void, because it seems like they put a bunch out right before kickoff, and then since then it hasn't really done much. Right. But like you said, it's a ton of content, right? The only thing I would say that they've missed this year, like you said, is Crown Legacy or MLS Next Pro games not being able to be replayed. I don't get it. I don't understand it. There's no other contract other than themselves, so I don't understand why they just don't do it. But that's one thing I would say year 2. And then I would like to see a little bit more of a pregame kind of like back and forth. I know this sounds like cheesy, but like, you have your NFL Fox pregame show with people just chucking it up and having fun and, being there counting down, or college game day where it's like this whole big event. How great would it be to be able to say like, hey, there's a Apple TV game of the week and we're going to host it at Charlotte FC match and have the pregame out at the lot beforehand, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like that'd be really cool to kind of see going into year 2, and then have more diversity of the times. It's stupid to me that every game is like 7:30 and I can't watch any other games except for the West Coast games when I get done with Charlotte.
Yeah, and speaking of times, and back to Paul's question, there maybe could be something, and again, we'd have to stay later. Like, if you're in the South, maybe your game start an hour later to maybe let the sun go down some. I don't know. Maybe that could be an option.
That'd be great with a 9 o'clock kickoff or an 8 o'clock kickoff for a Southern game, personally. I mean, but that's just me. But yeah. So good question, Kate. Thanks for the reflection there for Apple TV. So I'll take my check, Apple, for the suggestions, by the way. So this next question comes from Jonathan Scott. So do you think we will ever see Patrick Agamane get regular minutes? Also, why does he not get used in the dying moments of the games to stretch the field and kill off teams while we have the lead?
Good question, but I feel like Patrick has come on in the dying minutes and done some of that. It would be nice to see more of him. I think this past game, I think Swiderski was playing so well and everything was working. I would have cautioned maybe tinkering with that, but I hope he does get some more minutes again, depending on what we do with Swiderski and the trade window coming up. I don't know. Maybe Patrick will play more of a role, and we'll see where Enzo kind of fits in that. But yeah, Patrick's been great, and again, it's good to have him coming off the bench to add a different dimension. And he's got the height, he's got the speed, gives you a different look. So yeah, I hope he does get some more minutes.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off that question, because there was rumors swirling a little bit. If it happens, it's going to happen this week. But do you think Carroll gets sold, or if you're Zoran, would you sell Carroll this week?
I can see this from a couple of different sides. I want Swiderski to stay. I want him to try it out another season, because I think next season will really get off and rolling really well. I like Swiderski, so there's that part of me. But from a business standpoint, if you can maximize your money and get top dollar for him now, I don't know how much Swiderski really wants to stay here. And I'm just speculating. I have no idea. I don't know. So from a business standpoint, if you can get money for him, yeah, I would go ahead and do it now, because, you run the risk of him getting injured next year. There's a lot of variables, right? So, but my thing would be, what would you do with that money? But right now, I would love to keep him another season. But yeah, it's going to be a big question for the front office.
Well, we can talk about that on another episode during the offseason. What would you do with the money? But I'm kind of with you. I would say sell him if you have someone actually knocking on the door right now. Do it. Because also from a player that wants to get back to Europe, most likely, now's the time to do it. Come February, January, you're not going to be able to have the opportunities to be sold like that anytime soon until it's the end of that season, right? So for me, that's the time to do it, is now. So do the right thing for the player, but also that way you can make money and you can use it to spend big next year. Because, Enzo and Carroll have shown that does not work well together, at least with our current coaching staff and formation and tactics. But, who knows? But I would do it if he had someone knocking. But that's another conversation. So thanks for the question. Sorry, I went off a little tangent there, Jonathan. But this next question comes from, quote, the number one soccer guy. So this one says, our number 10, our attacking midfield signing, started as a winger. Does this more so reflect on how talented Brecht actually is, or how poor our wingers are, first of all?
It depends on who you ask. I think for me, I think it shows how talented and versatile Brecht is, and the coach seeing how you can utilize him out on the wing, but he naturally is going to go to the middle, and again, that could disrupt things. So I think it's probably more of like a one-off type of situation, and using him tactically. But our wingers have struggled. There's no denying that. I mean, people like Vargas, and I think Vargas is a good player, and I think he has a bright future. But when you look at his production, it's just not there. You look at Uzviak. He was on fire and then unfortunately got hurt. And then since then, you got to look at production. Merrim, when he first was brought on, yeah, he did great. But I think Brick gives you just a little bit more of an offensive flair. And this might be a good little push for our wingers, right? Saying, oh, we got a new guy who could possibly play in my position. I've got to step it up. I would really love to see Vargas really step more into this role and get some goals and get going. But yeah, I think more so it just shows how good of a signing Breck could be for us.
Oh, absolutely. So, which leads us to our next question. This one's from Brandon Davis. So, was Christian Lattanzio's decision to start 5 center mids against LAFC based on the opponent, or do we think this was one of his, quote, mad scientist moments of tinkering? So think about, we had Ben Bender, Brant Bronico, Ashley Westwood, Derek Jones, Breck all starting in this game. So do you think that's just him tinkering and had this like genius moment, or was it just because of the opponent of LAFC?
Lattanzio keeps saying things like, our players will get it. They're finally going to get it. They're going to, I keep saying things like that. So it makes me believe like he has this thought and system that he wants to I don't want to say force, but he's going to go with it, right? It doesn't look like he's going to change it. So I think there was a little bit of both. I think understanding the opponent and clogging up that middle and, starting Brecht on out wide and having him cut in. I don't know if it's mad scientist. It could be a little bit of tinkering. Again, we've seen a lot of that this whole entire season, but maybe Lattanzio is starting to find what his best players are, when they should play, how they should play. And maybe the players are just finally getting used to it. I don't know. So
maybe
Wednesday's going to be, Wednesday's going to be a really good game to really take stock on and see, will he throw out the same lineup? I think that will be very telling. If he switches it up completely, then I think it's more of like tinkering. But the mad scientist thing, I kind of think that's a compliment. Like he's got the board and he's like, all right, we've got this opponent. If we do this, that would give me a little more confidence. The tinkering thing is what has really bugged me about him.
Now, you know what it is. He actually has an office now at the new HQ, and he can finally take his drawings onto the whiteboard is what it is, Swift. Just joking.
That's all it was. He just needed the right whiteboard to do it.
Yep. Awesome. So this next question comes from Matt Chantry. Matt wants to know, what % would you give us making the playoffs right now?
Ooh. Man, I don't know. After this game, I think our chances are a lot better. I would put it more 45 to 50%. If we win Wednesday, I think we have a good shot. Because I think those other, aside from the Union, but I mean we've handled them before too. I think we can win our home games. And even if we were to lose one, you still have Chicago that I think we can beat on the road, and Miami. Those Miami games are going to be so interesting.
Ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous, is what it's going to be.
It really will be.
Imagine all the thousands of Messi fans who bought that ticket and if he doesn't play because of whatever. But
yeah,
that's a different conversation.
Yeah, it sucks for people that did that and not going to be able to see him play. But we should also maybe be a little more patient when these things come out. Maybe. So yeah, 45-50% right now. But if we win Wednesday, I think that goes up. And I think these guys may have turned the corner and have that confidence. And we saw some of that in Leagues Cup, that tenacity. And again, LAFC draws back, right? And before, like, oh God, here we go, we're gonna lose, or we're definitely gonna draw. But now I think we have this mentality that keep pushing, right? And we can get something back. So it was good to see Saturday.
Awesome. So ready for a fun question here, Swift? I'm going to go back to one of these here in the beginning. So Greg says, if you could create a gate giveaway, because as you know, the Brant Bronico was the bobblehead this last game. You've had the Sir Minty chain. You've had a crown before. You've had a couple different things. What would be the item that you would create to be as a giveaway?
The first thing that popped in my head was the Ashley Westwood tea set.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. Everyone has to walk around with their pinkies out with their little like saucer and tasting cup. Be amazing.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty hilarious.
Be awesome. Go ahead and send that to the team there, Corey and Swift. So that way
how easy it would be to break that thing? Like it'd be in a body, people would just break that.
It would have to be like plastic. There's no way they would make it like out of like the ceramic. But yeah, I would say that. I know I put on there the next bobblehead I would love to see is a Sir Minty bobblehead, except it's just his whole body is just bobbling back and forth because he's a soccer ball. But
we could have
I'd love to see that.
Legs. It could have the legs dangle, right, or something like that. Or yeah.
Yeah, the legs and the arms, just doing this or doing crowns up, whatever, and just have his whole body just gyrating over there. So it'd be great. So, but yeah, I would say that maybe. I don't know, man. I think there's some pretty cool ones out there. I also said, like, I wish the team just sold bobbleheads. It'd be pretty cool to get like different collectors or different players or whatever it is throughout the time frame. It'd be really cool to see those.
Yeah. And again, I'm a big fan of the Queen in the video. 704 Shop put out a shirt recently that you probably seen me wear that has her on it. So maybe some type of little figurine like that or something. I don't know. Be kind of cool.
Yeah. I love coins. So keep doing the coins too. I think that was great. So, coin giveaways is another one. So I would say that I love the idea of the Ashley Westwood tea set. So I think that's the winner for the night there, Swift. So cool, man. Well, that's all the fan Q&A questions we got tonight, man. So I know we've got 2 games this week. We go to Orlando and then Nashville. So maybe we do a little live soccer and bourbon at French Quarter on Wednesday before we walk to the stadium, sir, together.
That's gonna be tough, man. Like I'm gonna be coming straight from work.
Oh, I know, me too. Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah,
we'll do it while we're walking to the stadium, Swift. How about that? We'll just go on Instagram Live and then we'll share it for everybody.
Oh, okay.
Me just sucking wind and getting like drenched in the rain. It'd be great. So awesome, man. Well, any kind of closing thoughts, anything else that you want to kind of promote or share before we let the fans go?
No, I think we're good. Hoping for the best Wednesday night and looking forward to a fun trip with everybody Saturday.
Awesome, man. Well, you enjoy Nashville. I'm jealous of that. So check out Third Man Records if you got some time, by the way, Swift. It is the record shop and place of Jack White, who is the White Stripes, the Raconteurs. They've got some really cool pressing stuff there, and you can actually maybe run into Jack White and a few artists. So if you have time, check that place out, man.
Sounds good. I'll have to.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks everyone for joining in, and we'll see you hopefully with 3 points after Wednesday.
See you guys.